What's up, everybody? It's your friend Isaac. Welcome back to Big Bike BMX. I've got my friend 80s BMX Craig. What's up, Craig? How you doing tonight?
Buddy, I am doing well, man. I'm doing well, man. Ready to get this really exciting show started, bro. How's everything with you?
Man, I am super, super psyched because just the hype around this event is I mean, what, years and years. Like it feels like we talk about this all the time. You go to this event, and like the rivalries that have spawned out of this in just a short time is really fun to watch. There's storylines associated with this event. Let's go ahead and kick it off, man. Tell us who we're talking to tonight.
You got it. Hey, everybody out there in Big Bike BMX land listening tonight, watching here on YouTube, we've got a really special guest tonight. I can't wait to introduce you to him. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to one of the creative and co-founders of the Frogtown event in Angels Camp, California. We have a former pro factory SE rider who's got a ton of history in BMX here on our show tonight. And without that further ado, and with that being said, please welcome to the show, everyone, Mr. Todd Huffman. Huffman, welcome to the show, Todd.
Hey guys, thanks for having me, and hello everybody. And I hope everybody's getting their bikes ready because we're a week away. About
I can't
Wow.
believe it's already a week away. I am so stoked for this event. I remember I became aware of this what in who it was Todd. I think Todd was talking about it. Todd Lyons was talking about it with us and how stoked he was about it. And then we saw the pictures. Craig, you went out there. I'm psyched, man. Tell me about what you remember, Craig, about your driving up to Frogtown, because I remember we were on the phone. You were like, "You're not going to believe this, dude."
Yeah,
What do you
well, I
remember about it?
absolutely, man. The first year, the first Frogtown year, I remember it being a rainy weekend. And I was like, oh man, I want to go. And it was pretty wet, whatever. There were people out there, they were hanging out. And I think Sunday was there was a lot going on Sunday. The clouds and the rain cleared up enough for people to get out on the track. I didn't make it. So I said, you know what, Isaac, I promise. And I have to go the following year. So last year was my first year there, Saturday and Sunday. And yeah, you're right, dude. I was super hyped. I couldn't wait to get up there. It wasn't too long of a drive for me coming from Northern California in Angels Camp, and I've been up there as a kid, as we talked earlier. Going to the Calaveras County Frog Jump Championships and all those things, and it's just beautiful country. It's a place you want to go when you want to go up to Gold Country, Calaveras County. It's phenomenal, and then to go up and be a part of something where you're going to actually watch, the races on an old school style track that's just been regroomed and has a lot of history there. All those things I'm sure Todd's going to tell us about, the things that they've done to make this the event it is, was everything and more than I expected. So yeah, man, it was a rad time.
That's awesome. Okay, before we kick off, Todd, those of you who are living under a rock, do not have social media, and have no idea what Craig and I are talking about. It's the Frogtown Classic BMX Days. It's in up in Angels Camp, California. It is a give you an idea. I think it's about 30 minutes, I think, from Modesto. When I used to drive up there and visit my friend, like 45 minutes. It's not far. It is a time machine. When you drive up there, you leave the like big city behind. You get there, and it just driving up there is a fun experience. It's beautiful, and then you pull into like Angels Camp, and it is like it is a mecca for people my age. There is antiquing, there is really great like bed and breakfast, wineries, lots of cool stuff to do. And then I hear like, oh, there's a BMX, like they have a big BMX thing. And I was like, in Angels Camp, Craig? You're like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because I used to go up and visit my best friend Adam, who I grew up riding BMX with in Lodi. He moved up to Murphy's, which is right next door. He went to high school in Angels Camp. I got beat up in an Angels Camp homecoming, got punched really hard by a dude I was lipping off to. I deserved it. I own it. And I have great times up there. I remember I kind of learned to wall ride at an elementary school up there. There's a great bank to wall up there. It's just a phenomenal time. Anytime you get up into that Calaveras County area. So make sure y'all are getting ready to head out there. This is a time machine weekend, a lot like you heard us talk about Dirty Fest. This is the blueprint that Dirty Fest spawned off of. This is the original the old school BMX weekend. You will drive up there. You will see an old style, like an old track that's been there forever. You will see old riders that have been riding forever. You are going to have the most amazing time. And the kicker is you get to I don't know if registration is still open, but you could have raced against people that you had on your walls, posters on your wall. You could end up racing against them. You're going to see them. You're going to see bikes that you haven't seen since you walked into a bike shop in 1980 something, restored and ready out there on the dirt, not in a parking lot. With it's what we wanted to be. It's what we wanted as kids every weekend all over again. So, Todd, I want to ask first question. What was the spawn? What kicked off this idea? What was it that you're talking, because you're the co-founder, you were hanging out with your BMX friend. Let's talk about how that kicked off, because I'm fascinated by all of this.
I guess we say inception, right? Like,
right.
You're right. So, no, so I've known Johnny Valdez since, I don't know, 78, I guess. I used to race his King's track in Modesto when the UBR was just getting started, and travel with Johnny, etc. And I've stayed in touch with him a little bit over the years. And so we were talking, I think it was back before COVID, all these regional BMX Hall of Fames are springing up everywhere, right? And we were talking about, we should do something with NorCal, and I was like, yeah, but it, like a bad high school reunion, it shouldn't just be like one night of getting some people together and people get pulled a million different directions. You don't really get to hang out and visit with people, catch up, So I said we should do something that's like a weekend somewhere, and maybe where there's some racing going on, like, because I do a lot of work in the motocross world and supercross, so the vintage motocross scene I'm quite familiar with, ARMA and all that. And I said, yeah, we should do some racing. He goes, oh, that's a kind of a neat idea. I said, yeah, but where would we do it? And I just kind of blurted out, because I knew it was a cool place. I said, what's up with the old Frogtown track, And I was half kidding, and because Johnny lives up there, he lives in Modesto. He said it's still there. They're just parking cars on it, the fairgrounds. I said, you're kidding me. He goes, nope, I drove past it just yesterday, and it's still out there in the field. And I said, wow, well, that's an opportunity, and he kind of still scoffed about it. And heck, I started picking up the phone and calling the fairgrounds. I'm not afraid to make phone calls. And sure enough, they were kind of into it, and knew a little bit about the history of the race in there. It started in 70, I think 77 was the first race there, or 76. And it only lasted till 82. So they only had 5 years or so there. But man, they said yes. And Johnny still couldn't believe it. It's like, Todd, is going to take 25 grand to pull that thing off. And I was like, okay. So we'll find it. There's sponsors out there, and sure enough, they pulled off the first year. And unfortunately, because of the Mother Nature situation, and it was Saturday, actually, we got to actually have the race there, Craig. So but it was a good proof of concept. Like, we crammed 3 days into one day, and yeah, a lot of naysayers said, wow, this worked. That was fun.
Yeah. How hard was it to, like, when you, from that inception and speaking with Johnny, it's like, and he's going, yeah, 25 grand, man, let's go. And, it's not as easy as everybody opens their wallet. Obviously, you mentioned that there was sponsors involved. What was that process like? And did you just start making phone calls to your contacts with sponsors, or did you have a whole team put together?
No, it was me and dialing for dollars, as we say. And, I have some relationships from the industry. I used to be the marketing director for GT for 10 years. And, but that was back in the 90s. And so I had some relationships out there with the new GT and Mongoose people, and my old friend and nemesis back in the day, Chris Moeller from S&M, and Chris Moeller races, vintage motocross as a hobby, right? And he instantly got it, and he just said, yeah, count me in, I'm there, and how much money you need, right? And so he ponied up a little bit, the guys at GT and Mongoose, and Others jumped in, and Toby Henderson was like Toby actually was the first guy to say, yeah, let's do it, so with his whole box and ABC thing, so all of a sudden the numbers go, okay, we're on our way, I guess we're going to have to do it. So, yeah, I think we started in April or something of 2021, and the first race was in the third week in October. So what's that? 5 months?
Oh, dude. Okay. So here's what I'm dying to know. Todd, you get up to the fairgrounds, right? You're in that discovery phase. You're like, okay, can we pull this off? You see the parking lot track. What is going through your mind? Are you like, we bit off more than we can chew, or this is going to be epic?
No, that was probably the encouraging part. We went out there with some of the volunteers and Johnny, and the place is covered in weeds and whatever, and as we could kind of see where the first straightaway was against the fence. Unfortunately, there's a road, there's a utility maintenance company that their yard is kind of on the other side of the fence from the racetrack. So there's a big access road that cuts right through the entrance to the first turn. Kind of in the middle of the first turn is this big road. And in the process of making this road, there was a tree that actually the third turn kind of went around back in the day, and it had a big berm on it. Well, that tree had been cut down or got knocked down in 45 years or whatever. So we went out there and we're looking, okay, well, that's where the first straightaway was. And there's the rise, and the first, okay, this is kind of the first turn as we remember it. And then as we started walking back towards the second turn, and that's where everybody got really excited, because the second turn berm, because it's kind of tucked back in there away from where they could park cars, it's underneath the trees and stuff. The berm was still there, and we're walking on, and it was like we're on, yeah, it was almost like discovering, King Tut's tomb of BMX, that this berm was there, and it just had eroded in a little bit, and had weeds on it, but we okay, we can just scrape this. And it was just how I remember it as a 16 or 17-year-old, so, and, from there we could figure out, it was going to be old school anyway. So we could kind of figure out, okay, we got to move. We can't use the original third turn because we'd have to go back across the road again. And so we just moved the third turn down, and it made the track more downhill, which is good. Old guys need gravity is their friend.
Yeah.
Amen, brother. Amen. Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of worked out, and had lots of good volunteers, and some great in-kind sponsors too that just donated. And even today, what's going on up there, we couldn't put the event on without all the rental companies that donate tractors and stuff. It's amazing, because it wouldn't happen without their help. Just couldn't afford to pay for this stuff, that like the tools we had out there last weekend building the track, was thousands and thousands of dollars of rental equipment donated.
Did you find that so whatever it took to make the first year happen, Todd, the first event, and back in 2020 or 2021, I'm sorry, did you find as these years, last year and now this year is coming up, are you finding that there's more logistics involved, there's more costs? Are you guys changing anything, or is it relatively stayed the same preparation? Obviously you don't have to probably recut the track again, or maybe you do. What do you guys got going now? What's,
well, honestly, the last couple of years has all been about improving the infrastructure and making it easier for setup and etc. And we're learning things, of course, along the way. And so, we're still not making any money at it, but I think we're on our way to next year being even easier. We have so much infrastructure built up that, with the starting gate and the new concrete and, relationships on the in-kind companies and the announcing tower, and figuring out how to, utilize the equipment we can get, cheaper, and people donating sound systems. And, we just got a new 20-foot storage container put on the site that we can store all of our stuff in. So I don't have to haul half of it from Orange County or We don't have to haul it from Modesto or store it in other people's yards in Sacramento or Auburn. So now all of our stuff is on site. We're just going to lock it up and once a year pull it out, you know? So
Well, I can say this, you guys did a fantastic job, because when the first year that I went, there was you enter from the highway and you're coming into the race area. There's a place to park, there's bathrooms, there's vendors, there's food. The track, you got bleachers on the side, there's tents, everything is there. It makes it so, the experience is really, you don't sit there and I didn't leave there going, man, I really wish there was somewhere to park, or you know what, I couldn't go to the bathroom, or so what's phenomenal is you guys, you know what you're doing. You guys have been involved with BMX and know what it looks like. So to go there and have that experience, I thought that was dope. And I thought the track was awesome. And I was like, I heard you guys were making improvements. There's some concrete now in certain areas, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about the track improvement, or what you guys did for this year?
Well, yeah. So the first year, or the second year, we replaced, we built a starting gate right out of steel. Didn't want to go quite as old school back as a 2x12 with an axe handle and some barn hinges, for the gate. So we had built a steel gate that was still manually operated, but it was the first year it was on this wooden platform that was 24 feet by 8 or something, that, you had to level it off, and it was just, you had to build that thing too every year. Right. So the fairground people, Lori Giannini, the director up there, I asked her, I said, hey, could we pour some concrete, She's like, yeah, sure.
No problem.
So we poured an 8-foot by, I don't know, 28-foot slab of concrete that our gate now bolts to, right? So we had that last year. And then this year, we actually have a concrete contractor as a sponsor. And so they built us another 8 feet by 28 feet. So now all the guys in the next moto are on concrete before they roll in, right? So you're going to be on concrete, and the gate drops, and then you roll forward and you go in your slot. So we got like a 16-foot by 28-foot, 4-inch thick slab of concrete that now has we're going to unveil the new Frogtown BMX historical bronze marker. So that'll be unveiled in a ceremony, so to speak, on Friday morning before practice starts this year. So
get out there early, guys, because that's a once in a lifetime opportunity to say I was there. Get there early on Friday. That's pretty remarkable, man. That's amazing. The things, I'm just going to go straight forward into what I remember of Frogtown from last year, just being a social media watcher, right? I remember the rivalries involved here that are springing up. I talk about this all the time. It's my favorite thing to talk about. My friend Dick Cheeseburger and my old teammate Terry Tennant have probably one of my favorite rivalries going, where I see Terry 6 months ago, in the gym, calling out Cheeseburger, Frogtown, and here I am doing squats, right? The battles that come out of that place, and just the crazy, there's two things that happen. There's the okay, we're racing, and then you're gonna get the Mike Miranda factor, where Mike's out there in a Evel Knievel costume, jumping, goofing off, having a good time. Stu Thompson bleeding from the shins on a bike that probably weighs as much as he does. And so it's just going to be this epic weekend of old school BMX and rivalries. Do you follow along and do you see this stuff yourself, Todd, just on a personal level? Do you see it?
A little bit, the Jason Morris, Dick Cheeseburger, whatever, and Terry Tennant thing, that thing was awesome for us. And, as soon as Todd Lyons made his own goofy color commentary and pieced everybody's other videos together to do a play-by-play, blow-by-blow interaction of that Pro-Am main event, right? That doesn't hurt, right? But I'll be honest with you, those guys are, if those guys are, you know, thinking it's going to be a repeat, they're going to have their work cut out for them, because there's some guys coming with some skills that are going to race that Pro-Am class, and it's a $2,500 purse this year. So
what? Oh my. Okay. Let's go.
And so I know Dale Holmes is gearing up to race, and Jason Richardson, and you know, there's a few of them out there. So
yeah, the doctor was laying it. You guys, doctor was in shape up at Dirty Fest last time I saw him.
Oh yeah.
And Dale Holmes always comes. And so like, I'm so stoked to see as this progresses, as this gets more popular, as the grassroots nostalgia BMX scene just continues to blossom and make this rebirth of, you know, events for us to ride at. No, see, you're not going to get an experience like you're going to get at Frogtown, because this is the first. This is the one that started it. So and you're, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know anybody else has prize money that's doing purses. I don't think Dirty Fest did purses. So this one's got a purse attached to it. Like, this is not, there's no games now. This is like a, let's go. This is all like, there's money involved, and there's reputations. I love that. That to me is what makes it so fun. Like, you know, I'm 50, but when I go to Frogtown, I can't go this year, but when I go to Frogtown, I am 12 years old, sitting on the bleachers, yelling for whoever was on my wall at the time, just going nuts and seeing like the legends of our sport, the Hall of Fame. It's a Hall of Fame race, you guys.
Yeah. And these guys who you and I and you know, most of the folks who go there are you know, just can't wait to see. They're still racing with, you talk about Terry Tennant, you talk about, you know, Todd Lyons and some of these guys that have been around a while, but to watch Stu Thompson race like there's a podium that he needs to stand on, it makes it so exciting, you know. And it could be what you want to make it, I guess, if you're riding in those classes, but those guys still want to compete. They still want to win, and they're going to make it a fun, exciting time on this old school dirt track that people are just still dropping their jaws going, I can't believe I just saw Stu double that water hazard, you know.
Go
and
for
it's
it.
Like, yeah, it's incredible.
Todd, tell me about, like, if you could give me what you can tell, what you're able to share, because I know there's always the fun secret, like you're going to get there and your mind's going to be blown. What can you tell us about the programming that you have in store for everybody? Starting, we've talked about it. You're not going to want to miss the ceremony on Friday morning before practice, where you get with the bronze. What was it called? We
have a bronze historical marker going in the concrete to commemorate 45 years of racing BMX in Angels Camp.
This is our sport, you guys, and that's happening. Please don't miss that. I can't stress that enough. Like, this is our sport being memorialized for generations. Make sure you're there for Friday morning. What else you got planned for us? I
mean, that's a Friday morning thing, but in Friday, you know, it's going to be the same as it's been in the past. I honestly, the exciting thing that, you know, I think we have going this year is we have a great group of race organizers that are helping us put the races on, right? So we've had some challenges in the past with operating the races smoothly and efficiently and on time, and we think, you know, we're going to do better this year. So, and we have to. So we're excited about that. Probably the biggest thing is we moved the vintage racing from a Saturday, Sunday thing to running all three motos on Saturday. So Saturday is nothing but all vintage, all three motos, quarter semis, mains, awards. That's why there's no practice on Saturday, because we have to do the first gate drop at like 8:30 in the morning. So we want to have our big Legends autograph session between the third moto and the quarter semis. So that's around 12:30. And then we want to finish, because we're going to have this big celebration Saturday night at the top of the starting hill where the bike show is on the grass. It's in an area at the fairgrounds called Timbertown, and it's a big lawn area that the bike show is going to be on. And that's going to become the Legends of BMX party from 6:30 to 10:30 at night. We have the Diablo Fugitives are playing. They're BMXers that are a cover band from the Bay Area, and they're half of them are racing, and then they're going to be playing, right? So it costs money to eat. It's a $29.50 dinner ticket for a Mexican fiesta, and you're going to have some raffle prizes and live auction item with a couple of cool John Cruz created auction items, and all the benefits, go towards John's Davis Finney Parkinson's Foundation. So Saturday is the big day, right? So we moved 2 days into one day, and then Sunday, because hey, some people won't get to come on Saturday. They still want to come watch old school BMX racing. So we're going to race modern racing on Sunday, USA BMX racers, but we're adding mountain bikes so guys can ride their mountain bikes on the vintage BMX track and vintage mountain bikes as well. And there'll be a few vintage regular 20-inch and 26-inch classes too, just to give everybody, hey, our feeling is you're going to ask someone to pay $15 to park. They should, see more than 20 motos of modern stuff and go home, right?
Yeah, that's definitely. Gonna be amazing. And, you mentioned earlier, Todd, the Legends, the autograph table and stuff. Isaac, when I went last year, I'm not kidding you, there was, and Todd, you could probably correct me on these numbers, there was like 30 BMX legends lined up at these tables and people getting an autograph. I mean, for the fan experience, for the BMX enthusiast, this was like, you've never seen this many guys, this many legends, because I shouldn't say guys because there were gals there too, lined up where you could just walk through with a t-shirt or a poster that you could get there at the event and have every one of them sign it. I mean, it kind of blows your mind. Like, you watched them race all day, you had a good time, let's go line up and get some autographs. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah, I can tell you that the artwork that goes into the Frogtown posters and things like that is pretty epic, you guys. I saw posters that they had over at Dirty Fest, and I was like, dude, these are beautiful. Todd, are you going to have things? Because a lot of the folks that listen to our podcast, like, they may not be in race ready shape. They're not going to show up and say, I've got a vintage bike. I may just want to go and watch the people from BMX Plus, BMX Action Magazine, and just watch the races. Do you have stuff out there? Are you gonna have posters this year where people can buy things to get signed?
We have the poster we have for this year, which features Kevin McCarthy in his era correct Kawasaki jersey on the bike going over the water jump from last year. We'll have those for everybody to get for free, and the legends that'll be there this year compared to last year, it's almost everybody who came last year, and on top of it, we're adding people like Dale Holmes and JR and Gary Ellis, I'm super excited about Gary Ellis. Bob Osborne is coming from Wizard, BMX Action, the Grand Poobah. Obi-Wan Kenobi of BMX,
the Godfather. Yeah, yes. That's all the way from Livingston, Montana. I love it.
That's right. Eddie Fiola is coming. Brian Blyther is coming. Some guy claims he's the king of Supercross. Jeremy McGrath is coming.
Yeah.
So the list is pretty strong. Kathy Hanna, everybody's heartthrob in the early 80s, factory torque rider. She's coming out with her husband. And it's going to be on autograph line.
Todd, in the first year you guys did this, I want to go back to that because all these legends, all these notable riders are going to be there this year, obviously, and everybody from last year and then some, as you said. But was it organic getting these legends out there, these people that we all know their names, we all know their history, or was it, meaning, was it more like word of mouth, or were you making those phone calls too? Like, hey, I'm throwing this event and I would really love to have you be a part of this. How did you make that happen?
It was probably a little bit of both. I have relationships with all these guys, and thankfully I guess I have a reputation of not being involved with goofy, lame stuff, right? So if people hear I'm involved with doing something, it's probably going to be pretty cool, right? So, and you guys see this stuff online. The Patterson's dad, Vance Patterson, he's our biggest cheerleader, for the event, really, and almost goes a little too far sometimes by cheerleading us. I don't want to get in trouble with the USA BMX, but he's a fan of what we're doing out there, right? And so, he's retired now, but Brent and Brian, who doesn't know who the Patterson brothers are, they were one of our first sponsors too. And in fact, this year they doubled their sponsorship commitment to us from a cash perspective. So they are all in. Brent has his own private party for some of his friends that he puts on for the event, because he has a home up there in the neighborhood. But, John Cruz is part of our early committee, and obviously he's super well admired and respected, loved. And so he was able to reach out, and, people just wanted something different. It's like, I don't know if you got to pick one up last year, Craig, but we did that BMX Action program, right? It was like a
I got one.
Right? So we did another one. We're doing another one this year, which has got a great cover picture too. But I wrote in my little intro thing for the event, I kind of wrote about that, nostalgia thing, that, this event was an event that people didn't know they needed yet, right? So once they had it, they said, oh, we like this, right? And now it spawned these other events like Dirty Fest in Texas, and the bomb thing going on in France. And I had a conversation a month ago with people in the UK about a Frogtown UK, right?
Wow.
So, there's all these guys our age. I'm older than you guys, but, I tell people, we have about 10 years, right, of this BMX nostalgia. There's about 10 years. And I do it as the Stu factor, right? When Stu Thompson is 75 years old, right, we'll all kind of maybe be going, it's getting a little long in the tooth here. We'll have to see if the younger generation is going to want to do all this kind of stuff and keep it going, right? So, we're at the beginning of this 10-year thing, I'm predicting. So,
well, and I got to say this, what I love about events like yours, the other ones you mentioned, Dirty Fest and in Texas and those types of things, right, is that people are coming out with their families. So dads and moms are bringing their young sons, and they can say, look, this is what I used to do, and this isn't, and maybe that kid will go home and go, hey, I want to ride on some dirt tracks. And maybe that 10 years is probably accurate, but hopefully those kids are going to want to be a part of this just as much as dad did when he was their age, and they'll want to bring their kids to, hopefully the 10 years is, I'm just hoping it's way longer than that. But
agree, it's interesting. Couple of points. One thing, there's grandfathers, so it's not just parents and their kids. It's
true.
And their kids and their kids, right? So we're into 3 generations now of BMXers. And we have found from the first year, so this will be our 3rd year doing it, right? So that people came out and maybe they watched the first year, right? And they said, hey, that doesn't look too hard. I can do that. I remember that, right? And they go back and they hadn't been on a BMX bike in 30 or 40 years. And they started training for last year. They gave up some bad habits. They, felt that this was one of the most positive things in their lives in a long time. And now they're still racing, right? They started racing the modern racing at Roseville and Oak Creek. When every week they're out there racing, they form a team. They got some team riders now. And these are guys I used to bang bars with, 40 years ago, right? So it's changing, lives.
I couldn't agree more. Like, it's, when I look at what you've done, right? You've inspired so many. And I'll share a story that I can tie back to you and you don't even know, like about carrying on the love of BMX. I have a 10-year-old daughter. I could open the door right now and she'll run up here and be so stoked to talk to you. She did her first race at Dirty Fest. Because like she knows, I'm her dad. Mike is a good friend of mine. That's someone that gets tied into that Dirty Fest experience. But Dirty Fest was inspired by what you did. So I have in my household I have 3 kids and myself. So 4 USA BMX memberships that spawned out of a desire for one of my 10-year-old to want to go ride her bike around the track. Not what I typically do, ride outs, doing wheelies on big bikes. She's like, nah, fam, I want to race on a BMX track. I take her down to Chandler BMX. We got signed up. Her brothers I have twins that are 15. They signed up. I signed up just so I could ride around the track with them on like have father-daughter BMX night, right? She had no intention on ever racing. She entered Dirty Fest. And if I was going this year, she would enter at Frogtown. And that's just something that like you and Johnny sitting around going, it wouldn't be cool if we did this thing at Calaveras. And all of a sudden here we are just 3 years later, and I can tie back 4 memberships to USA BMX and a spark of love for BMX because of what you and Johnny did. Did you think, like, when you sat down and you pitched this to Johnny and you guys are out there walking around, I understand, y'all, that there is a army of volunteers, and I would love to name every single one, but in this case, I'm just gonna say you and Johnny, but understand volunteers that help make this happen, I'm including you in this. When you sat down and you thought about it, and it's coming up to those final days before you're getting ready to kick off, maybe that first one, even last year, the stress that builds up, does it ever occur to you, like, the long tail or the inspiration that this is going to bring and the joy of BMX it's going to spread out of what you did? Did you even think of that, or is this just now something where you get to reap the rewards?
Well, since we're not making any money at it, we got to get something out of it, right? Satisfaction is going a long way right now, right? Because it's a lot of work, and Johnny and I are we're like co-generals, right? But man, we got a great group of colonels and captains and lieutenants, underneath are all experts in something else that we're horrible at, right? So we got a good group of people. These are people that have full-time jobs, and but they rally when it comes to next Wednesday. They'll all start converging on Frogtown on their own dime, taking time to work, putting fuel in their campers and whatever, paying for hotel rooms or Airbnbs to help us put this event on, because they're feeling it now too, right? They see that they're kind of part of this magic that we created, and it makes them feel good too. I was going to add, I now know of at least 2 cases of modern kids. One, the best example, is some kids who went to the World Championships in France, right, last year, and they went to Dirty Fest, right? I mean, they went to Frogtown, and they told their dad Frogtown was way more fun.
I think I know who you're talking about, and they had a lot of fun, and that's what it's about, man. Because at the end of the day, when you see people walking off the dirt, grandstand area or from the vendors aisle there, and people are smiling, like they're leaving and they're still smiling, that to me is the indicator, right? That's the benchmark to say that, after being there for 13 hours or however long their day is, if you're walking away with a smile and nobody's head's hanging low, they're going to be back. And then there's going to be kids like you mentioned, Isaac, and dad, I want to do this, or grandma, I want to do this, whatever the case may be. So, hats off to you guys. And like Isaac said, you and Johnny and the rest of your crew. When do you guys actually start heading up there? Are you guys getting prepped 3-4 days ahead of it? Cause it's just right around the corner as we blink.
Well, so last weekend we built a racetrack in 2 days, right? We had, the right group of people, right, with the right amount of the right equipment, and the track got finished in 2 days, from scraping all the weeds and star thistles off of it to pouring more concrete and building the shelving in our new storage unit, to building the water jump and new tabletops and bigger tabletops and new crazy tail end section that I'm probably going to get some grief over again, but so what,
Yeah.
I'm the boss, right?
Right. You get to make that call.
Yeah. If you don't like it, go build your own.
I saw on Facebook, Todd, that I think I read this. Correct me if I'm wrong again. Do you guys have a new announcer this year?
We have a lot of new announcers this year. We were blessed for the first 2 years to have Mike Redman, an old friend of mine, who was more than happy to take the microphone for this thing, because he instantly got it too, right? He's like Chris Moeller, like just got it, right? But then I see Dan Hubbard, the announcer for Supercross, and ask him if he's available, because I got him hooked up with a gig at Glen Helen and racing, doing some motocross stuff. And he said, heck yeah. And so we were blessed having those two guys, two of the best guys on a mic on things with two wheels and dirt you could possibly have on the mics, keeping the entertainment going, because there's startup problems, you run long, slow, whatever. And man, the chemistry, those guys had never worked before together, and it was like they were best friends, and the banter and funny stories. And Mike or Dan was able, you get the Pattersons up there for an interview in between motos, or heck, we had Brad Lackey, America's first world champion, up there the first year. We had Bob Hanna last year. So it was just really great. But unfortunately, we all know what happened to Mike, and that's just super sad for the whole world. And then because of what Feld and the AMA did with creating the super motocross, kind of this playoff thing, Dan has to be in North Carolina the weekend of our event, announcing for 50,000 or 60,000 people. So whatever. But I knew I was going to replace Danny with Brian Dorsey. And I don't know if you guys remember his mom, Linda Dorsey, the mouth of the NBL, the beloved announcer for the NBL for decades. We got her son, and asked, he was going to be kind of the fill-in for Danny, and it was going to be Brian and Mike. Well, then we lost Mike, and I'm like, okay. So Mike Miller from Dirty Fest has stepped up, and on top of that, Mike Savage is going to jump in there and do some announcing again, and there's a couple others. So
yeah, and like you said, I mean, it's been where the announcers are the MCs of the event. I mean, they're the voice and the energy behind keeping the crowd focused and entertained, and you've done a phenomenal job at that. And I can't wait to hear how these guys take that same energy and just make it a whole new experience, because you essentially have two new MCs, two new announcers up in the tower, and it just makes the whole day. It keeps things flowing. And yeah, man, I'm excited to hear what they bring to the table.
Yeah, well, we invest in that announcing tower. Like that tower is not cheap, for us, but it's not, and nothing against Dirty Fest for having a scissor lift up there to be their announcing tower, because they're just getting started. And I get it, we've had a couple of years ahead of them to evolve, but having something that looks more like an announcing tower is like the center focus of the event, and we got stairs to go up the side of it. There's a separate deck on top for a TV camera and an easy up on top of that. So it's we're also trying to impress future sponsors and people that are going to come out and start sniffing around, because it's still new, and this thing needs to grow and get some more partners involved to take it to another level.
I'm a big fan of announcer towers to begin with. I think that is such an iconic thing in BMX. When I was a kid, I remember going around to different tracks, and I happen to live in Gilbert, Arizona, which is right next to Chandler. Chandler still has their original announcer tower up there. You can't go up it. I've gone up there, but they don't use it very often because it's basically condemned. And they have a new one, but for people like me that remember it, I love the fact that the track operators out there, Rachel, the original tower is still there, even though it's dilapidated, it's there. And so it's just it's like a lighthouse of BMX that a lot of folks remember driving through there. I grew up in Stockton, and so the Fairground BMX, I remember the iconic, like the jump. There was the first berm, I think it was, had a bridge, and it's just those iconic things that you remember, probably a lot like what you remember walking Angels with, like when you're walking around looking at the fairgrounds, where you're just remembering, I remember this, like,
yeah,
years later, the dirt's still the dirt and the berm is still here.
Well, and what's really neat is, there's a picture of me coming into that second turn in 1980, and I have Ben Troya behind me. And I don't know, if we didn't not like each other, but it just seemed like, there was this weird rivalry there, and he's a Bay Area guy, and so I always thought he was too intense and too serious, and he's still a little that way, but now we're like the best of friends, and he's working with us on a committee. We just laugh about, but that turn, by the way, so everybody knows, that's the AAA Fire Dinosaur berm, right? So the Pattersons own the naming rights to that second turn. So
sounds ominous and awesome.
That's fantastic.
Hey, you were speaking about sponsorships and sponsors for the event, Todd. If there's anything that you want to add, I mean, we can use this platform right now. If anybody wants to reach you, if any sponsor or prospective sponsor wants to be a part of this that hasn't been yet, but wants to get their name on a banner or whatever they can do to sponsor your event, what's the best way to get a hold of you, or how do you get folks involved with this?
Yeah, they could. I mean, the two easiest ways is just IM us on Facebook, instant message us on Facebook, or on the website, there's a contact us form to fill out, that you click the sponsorship box and say, hey, I want to give you guys money. Who wants it? And it'll get to me.
Can you give out your website and where you're at on Facebook, what that group's called?
Frogtown Classic BMX Days.com. Pretty, even though we've added the name international this year to it, but the website is still Frogtown Classic BMX Days, plural.com. So you can register, learn more.
Todd,
about
I'm gonna share the website real quick, because I want people to see it. This is what it looks like when you get there. I want to pause for a moment and thank every single one of these brands that you see right now as I scroll, because these are the brands that are putting money behind the sport that you grew up in and the sport that you love. So shout out to all these folks. And what makes me so stoked, Todd, is to see stuff like I was looking on here earlier, it was like Calaveras Visitors Bureau. It's not just BMX brands that you got in this. There was a down here, Alderson Fencing in Sonora, right? Like, you've got people like the BMX love, and I'm sure there's some type of BMX route in here somewhere in Manteca Pest Control, or somewhere there's going to be racing in that DNA. And so just a shout out to the BMX community for supporting this. Make sure you support these brands. What as far as experiences, I know like Redline typically travels with a pretty good stable of old school bikes. That's what I remember from Dirty Fest. I know Mongoose does the same. Is there going to be that same type of stuff out at Frogtown this year, like where I can go and see these brand representations out there?
Oh yeah, for sure. The bike show, it's officially sponsored by Huffy. The Huffy Bike Show is going to be bigger than ever. Redline Rob Lane is bringing his bus and his trailer that he had at Dirty Fest, or he debuted at Dirty Fest. So that's going to be set up on the lawn up there. And we've added some new classes for the bike show. And the two that I'm most excited about is best presentation, right? So, and there's two classes of it. There's best presentation for 5 bikes and under, and there's best presentation for 6 bikes and over. So these people that beyond just one pristine, squared back red line or Webco or GT or whatever, they've actually gone, they got a whole fleet of them, right? Or they've blinged out their display to put the mirrors under the bikes, and they got the mannequins with all the merch and the helmet bag. And, those guys should be rewarded for going the extra distance, to create the full package on what they're doing. So we created those 2 new awards for those kinds of people that are going above and beyond just the bikes themselves, right? So that's kind of neat. And then because Huffy is a sponsor, we created 2 Huffy specific classes, which is pre-1980, which would be your Schwinn Stingray replica style Huffies and Pro Thunders and all the kind of the department store stuff that a lot of us had because we couldn't afford a Schwinn Stingray. And then there's the 1981 80 over, which will get into the Stu era, John Pint, Matt Harris era bikes, the lack of it, more sophisticated racing equipment. I'm not going to use the word quality because that's just a different, they were made for different things. So
yeah, you can't say like, I definitely agree with you. Like the evolution, things evolved. I wouldn't say it was like, better. It was just, man, Dad's welding stuff together. You know what I mean? Like that era was beautiful for that.
Heck, there's got to be at least 2 or 3 different Facebook groups just for Huffy Stu replica era bikes. I mean, it's crazy. So
yeah, absolutely.
That Huffy is a sponsor and getting involved, and so. But it's that party Saturday night that's going to be good. You need to get there. And that's open public. That's we've had a Legends and VIP party the first 2 years on Friday night, but that was only for sponsors and our Legends. It was a private party kind of deal. It still had 150 people at it, but this year that party is open to the public. So
yep.
And where's that going to be, Todd? What's the location?
The top of the starting hill in Timbertown. So it's about 50 feet from the starting gate behind it. You go through a gate and you're there. It's on a big grass area, and it's our race location is actually in the parking lot, is overflow parking for the fairgrounds, right? Big dirt field and hill, obviously, but where the party is, the bike shows is actually physically within the fairgrounds property. So
I think that's awesome. I mean, I know I'm going to have to beat Mike Miranda to the taco area because I know he loves tacos, but I think I love them more. So there'll be a race in that category. But, just adding that into the mix, there's another experience to be a part of. The day's not over. You guys go to the Mexican Fiesta, get up on the dinner. It's very reasonably priced if you think about what you're going to be involved in. It's the dinner, it's hanging out, it's getting to talk to those guys who you've always wanted to say hi to, or maybe you wrote them a letter when you were 12 years old or 13 saying, hey, I like how you win everything or whatever you do. And here you are, you get to, have a taco with them.
So, and it's all you can eat tacos too. So bring your appetites.
Oh boy.
Oh man, Todd, you're doing it right, brother. You're doing it right. Todd, I told you I would chat with you for an hour, and we're coming up on that hour mark. I do want to thank you for coming out. Thanks for making time for us. I cannot tell you how excited and thankful I am to you and the entire crew that put on Frogtown, because as a NorCal kid, just growing up, having fun on my BMX bike, my roots and my history love the idea of this. And my family and I had an amazing time at a very similar event, Dirty Fest. And I cannot wish more families have that same experience at the original, the nostalgic event that kicked all of this off, that inspired all of it. I hope all of my friends I grew up with in that area make it out there to see and to experience and see those magazines come to life. All the history of BMX is going to be in one spot, and you're going to be able to have tacos with damn near half the Hall of Fame, you guys, for 29, like what was it, 20 bucks, I think, for dinner, like
950.
20. Okay, you guys, I I promise you, I would pay $100 to be able to eat all you can eat tacos with Stu Thompson and Toby Henderson, Dick Cheeseburger, Terry Tennant, Carlo from Boss, Mike Miranda. You guys, I'll sit here for days and talk about all these legends that you are going to see up there and hang out with.
You could eat tacos with Todd Huffman, dude.
Yeah, right.
Think about
Have
that.
tacos with Todd. Please go get Todd's autograph, y'all, because trust me, this is like, you will thank yourself later on, because this is the event that kicked off all the rest of the events that are springing up. And I don't see this going away. I respect the 10-year limit on it. I totally understand what you're saying, but man, Fuzzy's going to pick this up. Mad Dog's going to pick this up. When you guys are done, and you're ready to hand it off, there's plenty of folks that will absolutely honor what you've done and take this on, because old school for us is we have our memories, man, but like the generation that came up behind us, they have their memories and they have their legends and they have their, it's going to be the same thing just happening over and over and over. And I love it. I cannot get enough of this stuff. So thank you, for me, my family, and all of my memories growing up, man. I cannot thank you and the volunteers enough for what you're doing, what you've inspired others to do, and what's going to happen in the future because of this stuff. Thank you for making a gamble. Thanks for gambling on BMX, Todd, and putting, your reputation and just your vision, making it happen. Like I promise you, there's hundreds and thousands of us that grew up racing BMX that had an idea, like, wouldn't it be great to just get together with a bunch of old school guys and hang out? And you actually executed and made it happen. And now there's a marker. Like, thank you, Laura. I believe her name is Lori from the Calaveras, or the fairgrounds there, Angels Camp Fairgrounds. Thank you for doing that for us, for just an old BMXer you'll never meet. Thank you for putting that marker down and saying this existed and this happened and this is real. And it's a place that we can all visit, a mecca of BMX. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Todd, for what you've done.
Thanks for having me. And guys, myself and Johnny, yeah, we dreamed the thing up, and Johnny kind of only poo-pooed me a little bit, because he didn't think I was serious. But, the real star of the whole deal, I always like to say, is that hill, because it's been there. It's unique. It was unique 45 years ago. It's hard to find undeveloped land in America today where things happened 45 years ago that don't have condos and shopping centers and whatever on them. So for that piece of property and that hill and that track, at least half of it, to still be there after all these years, and for us to be able to put people on it to remember when, that's the special part of the whole deal, really, is the hill. So I'll leave it at that. We'll see everybody on the 8th, 9th, and 10th. So
yeah, be there early on Friday morning before. I'm stupid obsessed about this marker, but I think it's one of the coolest things to ever happen. So
it's going to be cool. Bob Osborne's probably going to be up there because it's a BMX Action Foundation event. They're the ones that raised the money for it, and from the families, the Pattersons and the Andersons and Gary Turn family and Bill Ryan from Supercross and a bunch of others, right? Ernie Alexander and the whole NBA crew. So it's really the right mix of people donated to put their names on that plaque, which will be forever.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that Bill Ryan guy. He's kind of a crazy fella, let me tell you. And this, Craig, before I pass it off to you, Craig, to send us out, as a side note, my NorCal friends, please send pictures of anything that you see there with Carlo and Boss, because I'm a NorCal kid. I want to see that stuff. And if you see any White Bear frames or any White Bear racers, send me pictures of that, please, because that's it's Stockton Fairgrounds. That's the things that I remember, that White Bear team that nobody could beat, and definitely the Carlo stuff. So appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you so much. Make sure you head out to all these nostalgia events, but Frogtown was the first one. It's the grandfather. Make sure you experience this before you're done with BMX, you guys. Make sure you experience Frogtown at least once. Greg, take us out, brother.
You got it, man. So I got to tell you this, Todd, Isaac, and everybody listening. I have been talking about this year's Frogtown since I left the parking area from last year's Frogtown, and I'm super stoked because I'm adding one more person to my ride up there, which is my son, and he's 15 years old, and he's going to be a part of Frogtown this year, as well as my lady, and our little dog comes with us. But I can't wait to see everybody out there. Todd, I cannot wait to say hi to you. Isaac, I'm not giving up on Frogtown, even if it's 10 years and I have to get you out here to go with me. But I can't wait to see everyone. You guys, everybody out there in the Big Bike BMX podcast land who's listening, thank you guys for showing up here again, for listening and hearing all the fun that we're having at these events. But the thing is, I want you guys to come out. I want you guys to do what you can. Yeah.
Honestly, Craig, that retro cruiser class.
Yeah.
Most popular class.
It's the most popular class. You guys are going to really love this as much as I do, as much as Todd has loved putting it on with him and his crew. So everybody come on out. Thank you again for showing up here at Big Bike BMX. Thank you to all of our sponsors here at Big Bike BMX. You guys see, you're right there at the bottom or on the screen somewhere. You guys can't wait for Frogtown 2023. Come out and have a good time. For Big Bike BMX, you guys know who I am. I'm 80s BMX Craig. That's Isaac Irvine and our special guest, Todd Huffman. Todd, thank you so much again for showing up here tonight, and look forward to seeing you, man.